I wasn't supposed to be home that night. That's what she thought, at least. Standing in the dark hallway, I could hear everything. The low murmur of voices, the rustling of sheets, a breathy laugh that wasn't meant for me. My hands clenched into fists, nails biting into my palms as I stepped closer. Through the half-open bedroom door, I saw her. Emily, my wife. Twisted in the sheets, our sheets, her back arched, her lips parting in a moan that wasn't meant for me. And the man? Some smug, dark-haired stranger, moving over her like he belonged there. A ringing filled my ears. My vision tunneled. The next thing I knew, the door slammed open, the impact rattling through the walls. Emily's head snapped toward me, her eyes going wide. And then pure, naked panic. "Jake," she gasped, scrambling to cover herself. The guy bolted upright, reaching for his clothes like a rat caught in a trap. I took a step inside, voice cold, controlled. "Don't stop on my account." Emily's mouth opened, closed, then twisted into something I wasn't expecting, a smirk. Smug. Unbothered. Like she had been waiting for this moment. "You weren't supposed to be home," she said. Like that was the problem. Like I was the one ruining her night. That's when I knew. This wasn't a mistake. Wasn't a one-time thing. Emily wasn't sorry. And I wasn't leaving without making her regret it. Emily smirk sent a white-hot rage through me, but I refused to give her the reaction she wanted. Instead, I stepped further into the room, slow and deliberate, watching as the man scrambled for his pants like a guilty teenager caught sneaking out. "You got a name?" I asked, my voice eerily calm. He looked between me and Emily, frozen mid-motion, half-dressed. "Aita." Emily rolled her eyes. "Oh, for God's sake, Jake. This isn't some dramatic showdown. Just get out. Just get out." I let out a hollow laugh. "Oh, that's rich. You screw another guy in our bed, and I'm the one who needs to leave." Emily exhaled sharply, running a hand through her tangled hair like I was the one exhausting her. "What do you want me to say? That I'm sorry? That it didn't mean anything?" She shrugged, completely unbothered. "Would that make you feel better?" I clenched my fists, every muscle in my body begging for action. But I wasn't about to give her the satisfaction of seeing me explode, not yet. Instead, I turned my attention back to the other man. "I'll ask again. What's your name?" He swallowed hard. "Mark." I nodded. "Mark. You married?" His Adam's apple bobbed as he shook his head. "And no. Kids." Another head shake. "Good." And then, without warning, I grabbed him by the collar and yanked him forward, my voice dropping to a deadly whisper. "Because if you were, I'd make damn sure they knew what kind of man you are." His face turned pale, eyes darting toward Emily like she might save him. She didn't. She just sighed, annoyed. "Jake, let him go," she said, as if I was the one inconveniencing her. "This is embarrassing." I ignored her, tightening my grip. "How long?" Mark's mouth opened, but no sound came out. "How long?" I roared, shaking him. Emily groaned. "Oh my God, stop with the theatrics." "You want to know?" "Fine. 6 months." My stomach dropped. 6 months. This wasn't a mistake. It wasn't a drunken lapse in judgment. This was planned. Repeated. A second life she had been living right under my nose. I let go of Mark, shoving him backward. He stumbled, nearly falling onto the bed, onto the sheets I had slept in the night before, completely unaware that I was lying in someone else's filth. Emily huffed. "Are we done? Or do you need to punch a hole in the wall to complete the whole betrayed husband act?" I stared at her, at the woman I had built a life with, and felt nothing but disgust. She didn't care. She wasn't even pretending to feel bad. If anything, she was bored. I took a deep breath, forcing down the anger that threatened to consume me. Then, with steady hands, I reached into my pocket and pulled out my phone. Her brows furrowed. "What are you doing?" I smirked. "Oh, I'm just making sure this moment lasts forever." I tapped the screen and turned it toward her. Emily's face drained of color. Because there, in perfect clarity, was a video. A recording of the last 5 minutes. Every word. Every lie. Every smug little smirk. I had caught everything. And I wasn't the only one who would see it. Emily lunged for the phone, but I was faster. I stepped back, holding it just out of reach as her expression twisted from shock to fury. "Are you insane?" she snapped. "Delete that. Now." I let out a slow, deliberate chuckle. "Now why would I do that?" Mark, still standing half-dressed and frozen in place, cleared his throat. "Listen, man, I don't want any trouble." I shot him a glare so sharp it shut him up instantly. "Oh, you don't want trouble? That's cute. Maybe you should have thought of that before crawling into bed with my wife." Emily scoffed, crossing her arms over her chest. You're being ridiculous. Am I? I tilted my head. Let's see. My wife has been sneaking around behind my back for 6 months, lying straight to my face, and now that she's caught, she's more concerned about me recording her than the actual betrayal. Yeah, Emily, I'm the ridiculous one. Her eyes darted to my phone again, her jaw tight. Jake, I swear to God, if you post that anywhere. I smirked. Or what? You'll cheat on me some more. Her nostrils flared. You're being petty. Oh, I'm just getting started, I said, lowering my voice. Because you see, Emily, you didn't just cheat on me. You humiliated me. Lied to me every single day. Made me feel like I was losing my mind while you were out here playing house with this clown. I gestured at Mark, who looked like he wished the floor would swallow him whole. And now, you expect me to just get out, like none of this happened? No, sweetheart. We're gonna do this my way. She narrowed her eyes. Witches. I grinned, but there was no warmth behind it. Oh, you'll see. Mark took that as his cue to grab his shoes and practically sprint out of the house, leaving his dignity behind with his forgotten tie on my nightstand. Emily exhaled sharply. Great. Now you scared him off. Feel better. I pocketed my phone. Not yet. But I will. She crossed her arms, feigning boredom, but I could see the tension in her shoulders. So what now, Jake? You want to scream? Cry? Burn all my clothes? What's the big plan? I tilted my head, studying her. Even now, she had no shame, no remorse, just irritation that her little game had been exposed. It was in that moment that something clicked. I didn't love this woman anymore. Not the way I used to. I had spent years believing we were partners, that she was my best friend, my ride or die. But the woman standing in front of me wasn't my wife. She was a stranger wearing Emily's face. And suddenly, I didn't care about her excuses. I didn't care about her lies. I just wanted out. Here's what's going to happen, I said, voice steady. You're going to pack a bag and get out. Emily blinked. Excuse me. You heard me. She laughed, actually laughed. Oh, that's cute. You think you can kick me out of our house? I grinned. You're right. I can't. But I can do something better. I pulled out my phone again and, with a few taps, sent the video to my lawyer. Emily's face paled. What the hell did you just do? I smiled, slow and satisfied. I just sent proof of your affair to the man who's about to make sure you walk out of this marriage with nothing. She took a step toward me, fury written all over her face. You wouldn't. I leaned in. Watch me. Her lips parted, ready to throw another lie, another excuse. But for the first time that night, she had nothing. Just a stunned, furious silence. And I had never felt so damn free. Emily stood there, motionless, as if her brain couldn't process what had just happened. The smug arrogance that had been on her face moments ago was gone, replaced by something that almost looked like fear. You're bluffing, she said, but her voice lacked the confidence from before. I smirked. Try me. Her jaw clenched. You can't just throw me out, Jake. This is my house too. I folded my arms, tilting my head slightly. Oh, you mean our house? The one I paid for? The one under my name? I let that sink in before continuing, voice calm but razor sharp. You really should have read the fine print when you signed those mortgage papers, sweetheart. Her breath hitched. I saw the moment she realized she had no leverage, no ground to stand on. She had spent so much time playing her little games, lying and sneaking around, that she never stopped to consider what would happen if I stopped playing along. I pulled out my phone again and scrolled through my contacts. So, here's what's going to happen. You're going to pack a bag, and you're going to leave. You're not taking the car that stays here. You're not touching the bank account either, because by tomorrow morning, your access will be gone. And if you try anything stupid, like making a scene, I'll make sure everyone sees that video. Her eyes widened. You wouldn't dare. I met her gaze, steady and unwavering. Wouldn't I? Emily's fingers curled into fists at her sides. You're being cruel. I let out a short laugh. Cruel? That's funny coming from you. Was it cruel when you let Mark into our bed? Was it cruel when you looked me in the eye and lied, over and over, for 6 months? She flinched but recovered quickly. I made a mistake. No, I said, voice turning cold. A mistake is forgetting to pick up milk at the grocery store. A mistake is texting the wrong person. What you did, that was a choice. Repeated. Deliberate. I took a step closer, lowering my voice. And now, you're going to deal with the consequences. Emily's breath quickened, her mind racing as she tried to figure a way out. But she had nothing. No excuses left. No sympathy to cling to. Finally, she exhaled sharply and spun on her heel, storming toward the closet. Fine. I'll leave. But don't think for a second this is over. I smirked. Oh, I'm counting on it. She yanked a suitcase from the shelf and started throwing clothes inside, her movements sharp and angry. Meanwhile, I leaned against the doorway, watching, memorizing. This was the last time I'd ever see her like this, as my wife. And I felt nothing. Not sadness. Not regret. Just relief. I grabbed my phone again and pulled up my messages. Within seconds, I had forwarded the video to 2 more people, her best friend, Sarah, and her boss. Emily must have seen my smirk because she whipped around. What did you just do? I waved my phone. Just making sure you don't try to twist the story later. Her eyes flashed with rage. You son of a... I held up a finger. Careful, sweetheart. You're still in my house. Her lips pressed into a thin line, but she bit back whatever insult she had lined up. Smart choice. Minutes later, she zipped up her suitcase, grabbed her purse, and stormed past me. But just as she reached the door, she hesitated. This isn't over, she repeated, her voice dripping with venom. I smiled. Oh, I know. Then, without another word, she was gone. The second the door slammed shut behind her, I let out a slow breath and ran a hand through my hair. The house felt different, quieter, lighter. For the first time in months, I wasn't drowning in doubt. I wasn't questioning my sanity. I was free. But this wasn't the end. Not yet. Emily thought she could walk away and rebuild her life like nothing happened. She thought she could control the narrative. She was wrong. Because I wasn't just going to let her disappear into the shadows. I was going to make damn sure she felt every ounce of what she had done. And I had the perfect plan to do just that. The silence in the house was deafening. No more fake apologies, no more venom-laced words, no more Emily. Just me, standing in the wreckage of what I once thought was a marriage. I sat on the edge of the bed, the same bed she had defiled, and let out a slow breath. It should have hurt more. I should have felt broken, lost, devastated. But all I felt was relief and determination. Emily thought this was over. She thought she could walk away, head held high, and spin some sob story about how I was the bad guy. But she underestimated me. She had spent months lying, scheming, sneaking around behind my back, thinking I was blind. I wasn't blind. I was patient. Now, it was my turn to play the game. I grabbed my phone and scrolled through my contacts until I found the name I needed. David Reynolds, divorce attorney. A good friend had recommended him years ago when he went through his own nasty split. Back then, I never thought I'd need a lawyer. Now, I was about to make damn sure Emily regretted every second of what she had done. I tapped the number and pressed call. David Reynolds speaking. David, it's Jake Carter. I need your help. There was a brief pause. Jake? What's going on? I exhaled slowly, running a hand down my face. My wife's been cheating on me. I caught her in our bed tonight. David's tone hardened. That's rough, man. You looking to file for divorce? I smirked. Oh, I'm looking for a hell of a lot more than that. I want her gone, and I want to make sure she doesn't take a damn thing from me. David chuckled. I like the way you think. You got proof? I tapped my phone, pulling up the video of Emily's confession. I've got more than proof. I've got her admitting to everything on camera. No way she talks her way out of this. David let out a low whistle. Well, that makes my job a hell of a lot easier. We'll make sure she walks away with nothing. Do you want to hit her with the papers right away? I thought about it. There was something satisfying about the idea of Emily waking up tomorrow to a legal notice she never saw coming. No, I said finally. Not yet. David hesitated. You sure? I grinned. I have a few loose ends to tie up first. Because this wasn't just about divorce. This was about making sure Emily felt every ounce of betrayal she had dealt me. She wanted to play games? Fine. Let's play. The next morning, I woke up feeling lighter than I had in months. No more paranoia, no more gaslighting. I wasn't the fool anymore. Emily, on the other hand, was about to find out just how wrong she was to underestimate me. Step 1. Expose her. She spent months sneaking around, lying straight to my face. Now, the world was going to see her for exactly who she was. I grabbed my phone and opened the messages I had sent the night before. The video had already been delivered to Sarah, her so-called best friend, and her boss. Now it was time for the ripple effect. I sent the video to a few more people, our mutual friends, her parents, her coworkers. Nothing dramatic, no captions, no explanations. Just a simple message. Thought you should know who Emily really is. Then I sat back and waited. It didn't take long. 15 minutes later, my phone buzzed. Sarah, what the hell, Jake? I smirked. Sarah had always been Emily's closest friend, but I also knew she had a strong moral compass. She wouldn't take this lightly. I typed back, just watch the video. Then decide if you're still asking me that question. No reply. I knew she was watching. Then, another buzz. Emily's mom. Jake, please call me. I had no idea. I'm so sorry. Interesting. Emily hadn't even told her own mother what she was up to. A few minutes later, another message. Her boss. Jake, I don't usually get involved in personal matters, but this is unacceptable. We need to talk. I leaned back, satisfied. The dominoes were falling. Emily thought she could walk away from this unscathed. She thought she could move on, keep her reputation intact, maybe even play the victim. Not anymore. She wanted to be reckless? Fine. I'd make sure there was nothing left for her to go back to. It didn't take long for Emily to realize what I had done. By noon, my phone rang. I didn't even have to check the caller ID. I answered, keeping my voice cool. Hello. A sharp inhale. Then, what the hell did you do, Jake? I smirked. Good morning to you too, sweetheart. You sent that video to my boss? To my mother? To Sarah. She was practically screeching. I feigned innocence. Oh, you mean the video where you admit to cheating on me for 6 months? Yeah, I thought people should know the truth. You ruined my life, she shrieked. I laughed, genuinely amused. Oh, Emily, you did that all by yourself? There was silence on the other end, just her ragged breathing. I could practically hear her scrambling for a way to fix this. Finally, she spoke, voice lower but still dripping with anger. This isn't over, Jake. I chuckled. I told you that last night, didn't I? She let out a sharp breath. You're gonna regret this. I smirked. I doubt it. And then I hung up. For the first time in months, I had all the power. And I wasn't done yet. Emily had always been good at playing the victim. She could turn any situation around, make herself look like the wounded party even when she was the one wielding the knife. But not this time. This time, she had nowhere to hide. After I hung up on her, I sat back in my chair and waited. I knew Emily knew how she operated. First came the screaming, the tantrum, the empty threats. But when that didn't work, she'd try something else. And sure enough, less than an hour later, there was a loud bang on my front door. I didn't move right away. Just let her stand out there, stewing in her own desperation. Another bang. Then, Jake, open this damn door. Her voice was shrill, on the edge of hysteria. I smirked to myself before finally standing and making my way to the door, moving slow just to piss her off more. When I opened it, Emily stormed in without waiting for an invitation. Her hair was a mess, her makeup smeared like she'd been crying, whether from rage or regret. I didn't care. She looked wild, desperate, nothing like the composed, cunning woman who had spent months sneaking around behind my back. Nice to see you too, I said, shutting the door behind her. She spun to face me, eyes blazing. How dare you send the video to my boss? You cost me my job, Jake. I leaned against the wall, arms crossed. Good. Her nostrils flared. Good? You think this is funny? I tilted my head. A little. She let out a frustrated sound, running a hand through her hair. You don't get it, do you? I have nothing now. My friends won't talk to me. My mom thinks I'm disgusting. I have nowhere to go. I lifted a brow. Not my problem. She laughed, short and bitter. Wow, you are really enjoying this, huh? I pushed off the wall, stepping closer, my voice dropping. Oh, you have no idea. Emily swallowed, and for the first time, I saw it, the tiniest flicker of fear in her eyes. Good. She had spent months making me doubt myself, making me question my own sanity while she smiled to my face and stabbed me in the back. Now it was her turn to feel powerless. She squared her shoulders, trying to regain some control. Look, Jake. I know I messed up, okay? Stop. I cut in, voice sharp. I don't want to hear it. Not your excuses, not your fake apologies. You're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry you got caught. Her lips pressed together, but she didn't deny it. I sighed, shaking my head. What did you expect, Emily? That I'd just roll over and let you walk away without consequences? That I'd cry and beg you to stay? I let out a cold chuckle. You really don't know me at all. She was quiet for a moment, then I need money. I blinked, then laughed. She had some nerve. Let me get this straight, I said, crossing my arms. You cheat on me for 6 months. You lie, you manipulate, You disrespect me in my own home, and now you want me to give you money? She lifted her chin, but there was uncertainty in her eyes. I don't have a job anymore, Jake. I don't have anywhere to go. Not my problem. She exhaled sharply, shaking her head. You're heartless. I grinned. Guess you should have thought of that before you spread your legs for Mark. Her face turned red. Whether from anger or shame, I didn't care. She took a step closer, voice lowering. You think you've won? I didn't flinch. I know I have. She searched my face, maybe looking for some crack, some sign that I still cared. There was none. Finally, she huffed and turned toward the door. You'll regret this. I smirked. I doubt it. And then, just like last night, she walked out of my house. Once the door slammed shut, I let out a slow breath. It was almost over. Almost. There was just one more thing to take care of. I grabbed my phone and pulled up David's contact. Me, time to finish this. File the papers. He responded almost immediately. David, consider it done. I stared at the screen for a moment, letting it sink in. This was it. The end. I wasn't just cutting Emily out of my life. I was erasing her. By the end of the week, she'd be served divorce papers, her bank accounts would be frozen, and she'd have no legal claim to anything I owned. She wanted to betray me? Fine. Now she had nothing. And as I sat back, taking in the quiet, I realized. For the first time in a long, long time, I was free. Emily was gone, but the sin of her betrayal still lingered in the house. Every room held a memory, every object seemed tainted by her touch. The sheets she had ruined with Mark had been ripped off the bed and tossed into the garbage. The photos of us together? Burned. I didn't want a single reminder of her left in my life. But I wasn't done yet. Emily thought she had suffered enough, but she had no idea what real consequences looked like. Losing her job was just the beginning. She was about to feel the full weight of everything she had done. I took my time that evening, going through all the accounts we had shared. I had been smart. My personal savings were separate, untouched by her greed. But Emily? She had been careless. She had gotten too comfortable. She had made mistakes. A few clicks, a few phone calls, and just like that, her credit cards were frozen. The car she drove, registered in my name, was now off limits. The rent on the apartment she had scurried off to like a rat? She'd have to figure that out on her own. I wasn't paying for a damn thing anymore. When I was finished, I leaned back in my chair and exhaled. Now, I just had to wait. And, right on time, my phone buzzed. Emily, Jake, what the hell is going on? My card just got declined at the grocery store. I smirked. Me? Oh, that's unfortunate. A minute passed. Emily, did you do this? Me. Do what? Emily, don't play games with me. I know you froze my accounts. Me. Oh, you mean in my accounts? Yeah, I did. Consider it a lesson in financial independence. Another pause. Then, Emily, you're a monster. I laughed. Me, says the woman who destroyed her own marriage. Bye, Emily. And then I blocked her number. For the first time in a long time, I felt something close to peace. The next morning, I got a call from David. The divorce papers had been filed, and Emily would be served soon. I had expected her to fight it, to drag it out, to demand something from me. But when I heard from David again later that day, his tone was almost amused. She signed them, he said. No contest. I raised an eyebrow. Really? She didn't even try to fight for anything. She just signed and walked away. That surprised me. I had expected Emily to claw for every last cent. Maybe she finally realized she had lost. Maybe she was too humiliated to keep up the act. Or maybe she had another plan. I wasn't naive. Emily was many things, but she wasn't the type to give up that easily. She had to be scheming something. But whatever it was, I was ready. Days passed, then weeks. Life started to settle again. I went back to work, reconnected with friends, started to feel normal. I even slept better at night, knowing I wasn't sharing my bed with a liar. Then, one evening, there was a knock at my door. When I opened it, I wasn't surprised to see Emily standing there. What had surprised me was how she looked. She was a mess. Her clothes were wrinkled, her hair unkempt, dark circles under her eyes. She had lost weight. The confident, smug woman who had stood in my house weeks ago, spitting venom, was gone. For a brief moment, I almost felt sorry for her. Almost. She looked at me, lips pressing together like she was trying to hold something back. What do you want, Emily? I asked, my voice flat. She let out a slow breath. I need to talk to you. I leaned against the doorframe, arms crossed. I doubt there's anything left to say. She hesitated. Then, I made a mistake. I laughed, shaking my head. Oh, now you realize that? I thought, she swallowed. I thought I wanted something else. I thought I wanted to be free, to have fun, to be with Mark? I finished coldly. She winced. It wasn't about him. I raised an eyebrow. No. She shook her head, looking down. It was about me. I was selfish. I thought I could have everything, but all I did was lose the only thing that actually mattered. I stared at her for a long moment. Then I stepped back and slammed the door in her face. She knocked again. Jake. I turned away, ignoring her. I heard her sigh, heard the soft sound of her footsteps retreating. And that was it. No more Emily. No more lies. Just me, finally free of the weight I had been carrying for far too long. I didn't regret what I had done. I didn't regret making her feel the pain she had inflicted on me. But most of all, I didn't regret letting her go. This was my fresh start. And I wasn't looking back. The sound of Emily's retreating footsteps faded, swallowed by the night. I stood there for a moment, my hand still on the doorknob, feeling the weight of what had just happened settle over me. She was gone. Really gone. And I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no anger, no lingering sadness. Just a quiet, hollow sort of finality. Like I had closed the last page of a book I should have put down a long time ago. For months, I had lived with the sharp sting of betrayal, replaying every lie, every moment of deception, trying to understand how someone I had trusted could turn into a stranger. But now, standing in the silence of my own home, I realized something. It didn't matter anymore. Emily was part of my past, and I had no interest in carrying her with me into my future. I turned away from the door and walked to the living room, collapsing onto the couch. The weight on my chest, the one I had been carrying since the day I found that damn receipt, was gone. And that was when it truly hit me. I had won. Not in the way I had once imagined, not through revenge or making her suffer, but because I had taken back my life. She had spent months trying to break me down, to make me question my own worth, my own instincts. But here I was, still standing. Stronger. Smarter. Unbreakable. Emily, on the other hand, had nothing. A soft chuckle slipped past my lips. Maybe, in the end, that was justice. A week passed. Then another. Life moved forward. I didn't hear from Emily again, and I didn't waste time wondering where she was or what she was doing. She had made her choices, and I had made mine. Instead, I focused on rebuilding. I started going out again, reconnecting with friends I had neglected during my marriage. I threw myself into my work, rediscovered hobbies I had abandoned. I even started hitting the gym again, not for revenge, not to show her what she lost, but for myself. And damn, it felt good. One evening, I was sitting at a bar with a couple of friends, sipping a drink, when my phone buzzed. A message. Not from Emily, thank God. From David. David, it's official. You're a free man. I exhaled, staring at the words for a long moment before typing back. Me, finally. I put my phone down, took another sip of my drink, and looked around the bar. For the first time in a long time, the future felt open, unwritten. And for once, I was looking forward to it. If there's one thing I took away from this whole mess, it's this. Trust your instincts. The signs were there. I just didn't want to see them. I wanted to believe in Emily, in our marriage, in the promises we had made. But the truth doesn't care about what you want to believe. It just is. If something feels off, it probably is. And if someone disrespects you, if they lie, cheat, manipulate, you don't owe them patience or understanding. You owe yourself better. I wasted too much time hoping for explanations, for apologies, for things that never mattered in the end. The only thing that mattered was walking away with my dignity intact. And that's exactly what I did. So, if you're ever in my shoes, if you ever find yourself staring at undeniable proof that the person you love isn't who you thought they were, don't wait. Don't beg. Just walk away. Because trust me, nothing feels better than knowing you could have burned it all to the ground. But instead, you just move the hell on. And let them destroy themselves.